We are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Sommer Ramer, and
I'm Jon Ramer.
And we are here with SINE, Synergized Impact Network Exchange. And today we're settling into a magic synergy hour of possibilities as we are spotlighting today Connie and Andrew, all the way from Sedona, and wanted to share a little bit about their work. So Connie and Andrew, this is their life's work. They work to bring a high frequency vision to climate, community, consciousness, and country. The only way out is up, as they say. There's a new ball game in a higher frequency where there is more beauty, balance, joy, and abundance that we can fathom. In this frequency, spontaneously, trust replaces fear, ease replaces struggle, serenity replaces tension, generosity replacing hoarding, abundance replacing scarcity, unity replaces separation, new systems develop, new relationships replace outmoded ways of being. So powerful. Climate community, there is a lot of excitement and support of their Enviroplex co-housing, carbon capturing, regenerative agriculture community.
Wow.
Yeah, it's moving along into reality with offers of land on the table, now seeking high frequency funding. Consciousness is they are birthing a higher consciousness and a new paradigm, bringing forth the highest human potential of walking in trust through connection to and alignment with conscious, loving, abundant universe. Country, Andrew's historical mystery novel, The Mayflower Revelations screenplay, is in Hollywood being reviewed by a major agent for a possible feature film. It is part of the first 50 years project, Liberty, Justice, and Equality. A new perspective presents a revolutionary look at the synthesis between Europe, colonists, and the American Indian in the evolution of the American democracy, mind, and spirit. And you can check out their film. Andrew Cameron Bailey and Connie Baxter Marlow are authors, filmmakers, futurists, and inventors who share an uplifting vision of the future of humanity. So there obviously is so much more that I can say about these extraordinary people. Their life has been dedicated to why we're here, the solutions, synergy, how we're going to really move forward. And I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation, not only with Connie and Andrew, but also with other extraordinary SINE members that are setting a context of this conversation amongst the world, as we are here as well with Nina, who's here from Greece, Karen from California, and Rita that's also here from Colorado, as well as the synergy of many contributions to making this a wave. So thank you for being here and welcome to this Members Presents Spotlighting Connie and Andrew.
Yeah, beautifully said, Sommer. Wow. And you know what? I honor you as a power couple, recognizing the enormous possibilities that come from that kind of relationship. Oh, thank you, Andrew. I love that. Love does win.
Love is all there is.
That's right. That's right. So we're so honored to have you both here and want to give space for the work that you're doing for people to discover that. So we have a couple questions in these Members Presents that we ask.
Oh, did you want to use that?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I need that just in case I get emotional. So here's the vision, right? We want the world to know about what is the change that you want to make in the world. And if I understood, we were going down a couple of C's, right? There was consciousness, there was climate, there was community.
Culture.
And culture. So what is the change you want to make in the world? How would you answer that question?
You're on.
Well, let's see. As far as I'm concerned, I was told in an ayahuasca journey that my name is Eagle Woman, and it is my job to fly very high and report back all that I see. So that's my job. And so I'm here to do that. And I believe that the humanity's in the process of a huge evolutionary leap in consciousness. And it's my job to serve that to the best of my ability. So it's Marlow reporting for duty. I respond to what the universe tells me to do. So it's leading me, I'm not leading it. As far as the change I want to see, I would say that it's the change I see and have seen in big pictures, that there's only the coming of peace on earth and heaven on earth, that everything serves that. So I see that in everything. And I think that's all there ever has been and all there ever will be. So that's my job, to stay focused on that knowing, so that the collective can go forward into that knowing. And all of us who have that knowing, it's so important for us all to stay there and stay in that frequency and stay in that vision and hold that for all of creation, because we do affect the collective. So, Andrew, how would you answer that question?
So my answer would probably, shall we to paraphrase Ken Wilber, for example, it is time to wake up, time for me, this guy, to wake up, to grow up, to show up. And by doing that, to perhaps, I don't know, set an example or inspire others to do the same. And I actually see myself, I think you all know, my heart is deeply, deeply in the climate crisis. If you've been paying attention to what's happened in the last month in Australia, and that's just at the beginning of the fire season, over 15 million acres burned. It is time to wake up, because those things that are happening all over the world are actually a consequence of human consciousness or lack thereof, or evolution or lack thereof. So if I'm an evolving entity in a conscious, loving universe, which I know that I am, I think that I'm awake, but I look around at my fellow species members and I ask this question, which I asked of Barbara Marx Hubbard frequently in our conversations: Homo sapiens, whatever happened to the sapient part? So a part of my focus is on that. Homo sapiens, sapiens means wise, or at least conscious. So if we're a species at the beginning or in the midst of an evolutionary awakening process, my role is multifaceted, really, because firstly, as I think most of you know, Connie and I wrote a book called you could wave it around, darling, called The Trust Frequency. So the consciousness aspect of those 4 C's that Connie listed earlier, consciousness. So this is our consciousness contribution, if you will. And Rita's known this from the beginning. She was a huge encouraging influence in actually getting the book done and finished. Actually introduced us to the young man who stepped up, who happened to know InDesign, and he and I actually designed the book. That was remarkable. And that book, quite honestly, has changed our lives. It's a bestseller with everyone on the screen right now. It's not a huge sensational bestseller out there in the world, but they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight sensation. And we're only 20 years down that road. So, patience. So that's my answer. It has to do with consciousness. It has to do with climate, tying those 2 things together. And community is one of the other C's that comes in. A community of what? SINE here, this group is a community. I know each and every one of you as members of a community that I'm part of, that Connie's part of. It encapsulates Unity Earth and a number of other national and international communities that we interact with and participate with as often as we can. So it's about showing up. That's the show up part. And the grow up part is an ongoing process. As an awakening young man who grew up in South Africa and faced everything from apartheid and other factors in that community that I grew up in, for example, before moving to this country, which is the United States. We have, I believe that our species has potential we have yet to manifest. And Connie would agree with me that the United States of America has potential that it has yet to manifest. And we've created as a species, we've done something no other species has ever done before. We've affected our climate, the climate of this delicate planet, to the point where if we don't wake up and grow up and show up and do something about it, we're not going to have much of an opportunity for further evolution. And the Homo sapiens or the Homo universalis factors become moot because we've really fouled our nest and we're in trouble. And so a very big wake-up call is on us as we speak.
Right. Okay, you know what I want to do, Andrew? Let's continue with you, then we'll come back to Connie, because the next question that follows down this path about the change you want to make is a more personal question. Why do you want to make that change?
Why as a grandfather, do I want to provide a livable planet for my little people?
Yes.
Do I really have to answer that question, or is the answer inherent?
Well, it's an invitation for you to be more, it's a story of self as opposed to just the story of us, right?
Yeah, this is actually personal. I have a 5-year-old who is just arriving in Colorado tomorrow. Get to see him. It's been a few months. I have 5 children and 3 grandchildren and an adopted granddaughter of Connie's here. So to be very specific, I mean, yes, Rita's our boss and that's who I work for. But honestly, that's just a cover up for the fact that I serve future generations, those little people who I adore. And I don't want them ever to know that there was a problem in their early years. I want to see this solved. So if there's a why, that's my personal motivation. Plus the sheer joy and fun of, as a one-time chemical engineer, of engaging in specifically so I used to be a science guy in South Africa. I left and came over here and became a spirits guy and went to Esalen Institute and started doing sweat lodges and LSD and meditating and all those things that made me who I am today. And now integrating all of those things into the present 4 C's of our collective enterprise here, it's just plain exciting. It's thrilling to be actually able to make a difference, to be able to engage, because honestly, it would be just plain depressing if all one could do is sit back and watch our species potentially go off the rails. You know what I mean? So I think it's wake up time. I know it's wake up time. And these are my motivations, guys.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Then I want to ask you kind of the same thing. So you have this divine calling, this role to play. Why do you want to make that change?
Well, when it's what your soul came here to do, it's all you want to do. It's all you do. It's all you want to do. When you're aligned with that, that's your joy, that's your gift, that's your vision, that's what you came here to do, and that's all you want to do. So yeah, that's just been a thrilling ride with the indigenous peoples, the elders who came into my life when I was searching for the missing pieces of the paradigm. That was my question to ask. What's missing in our paradigm? Why are we out of balance? Why aren't we the loving beings we came here to be? And I looked in Europe and I looked all over for a different way of thinking. And what I found was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I picked up a book of indigenous Native American poetry. And I'm like, oh my God, there it is. And then visionary elders started coming into my life. So I spent 20 years with various, what I call visionary elders, the ones who see the sacredness and oneness of all life, truly see it and walk it and know that all colors of man are interrelated, that we came here each to bring a gift. There's no shame, no blame, no victim, no perpetrator. It's about this divine journey that we're on to bring peace on earth and heaven on earth. And I saw this expanded reality through them, and I got it, that what they're talking about, what their worldview is not a belief system, but is clues to the true nature of the universe, how the universe works, that humanity is out of balance simply because we do not understand how the universe works. Our paradigm is erroneous. The scientific paradigm that we're working on, the reductionist paradigm and all that is partial. It's in many cases erroneous. It's scarcity based. It's separation based. And what the indigenous peoples are carrying for us is that connectedness with all life, rocks, trees, animals, etc. I mean, I know people who have two-way conversations with rocks. Okay, they're alive. They carry a spirit. So what we're bringing in the Trust Frequency book is this reality that quantum science is proving now, but quantum science can't prove the heart and the spirit of it. So our work is this, there's a synthesis between quantum science and indigenous cosmology. And this is what my core understanding is, that humanity, once we get it, which we're going to get it, because it is the true nature of the universe, it is our true nature. We're just separate from it with our belief systems, and having been raised in a lower frequency, because the earth was in a lower frequency, and everyone, even though there was a high vibration cosmology, the Native Americans with their incredible knowledge were at war with each other and doing horrible things to each other long before the white man came here. We've got to get over the fact that the white man was this horrible person, and all the yellow, red, black, white, everybody was doing horrible things to each other in this lower frequency. So we've got to get the playing field even, and we've got to go understand that we're moving into a higher frequency and into our light and into our hearts, and the earth moving into this higher frequency. The vibratory level of what we're living in is different. So that's what this cleansing is about right now, is cleansing out all those systems that were built out of fear and scarcity and separation. They're going away, and now we're going to have, from the ashes rises the phoenix. We're going to choose to align with our hearts, our true knowing, and the true nature of the universe. So that's what I know.
All right, perfect. That's the perfect segue to, let's talk about the tough question: how? How are we going to bring about these changes?
Yeah, and just adding into that question, because I'm all about multi-faceted questions that answer a lot, is as you answer that, it'd be great to know, what are some examples of the how that you're offering in 2020? Like, what are some ways, examples of how people can work with you both?
Yeah, and I want to say, I love Peter Block's book title, The Answer to How is Yes. Right? Yes, right? And I know, but this is where it opens the door for synergy amongst the other SINE members and the folks that are listening.
Let me do the first video.
What's your current thinking about how these changes can be brought about? And let's open up this conversation to get into the how, because that is often the challenging dimension to bringing about the changes that we seek.
Well, for me, it's God's big event, and we're crew. So we have to listen and act. Listen to what our role is and act upon it. That's how it is happening. It's a given. It's how each of us is going to play our role in it. And if we choose not to play our role, then the universe will adjust to someone stepping in to play our role. It's all free will. So there's no guilt, no shame, no blame. Just listen and act on what we're told to do. To me, that's a given. And otherwise, what we're doing specifically with our First 50 Years project is, Andrew's written a novel called The Mayflower Revelations. It's a historical mystery novel. It's to bring education to the people of this nation and the world to understand that there have been syntheses between the Europeans and the Native Americans. We have to lift out of shame, blame, victim, perpetrator, and see where we've worked together and what has come out of our coming together. And there have been two great syntheses, we call them. The first one in Plymouth, which we're focusing on with this novel, 54 years of peace and friendship. that gave birth to the American mind, spirit, and democracy. So we're talking education here. You're
Yes.
saying how? Education, all right? There is so much misinformation out there. And 2020 is the 400th anniversary of the landing of the Mayflower. And right now, it seems that 2020 is going to be the cleansing time. Okay, it's going to be the cleansing of the misinformation, the shame, the blame, the anger, the victim perpetrator stuff, because this voice is not really welcome right now to the table, because we're so enmeshed in this lower frequency stuff that needs to be cleansed. So the cool thing is that 1621 is the date of the signing of the peace treaty between the Indians and the Pilgrims that lasted 54 years. So next year, maybe, this voice can be heard. It's called shifting the psyche of a nation. When you have a nation that's ashamed of its origin story, it's a nation that's morally paralyzed. Fortunately, there's a beautiful story that sits here in Plymouth, and Andrew has written a brilliant novel with incredible facts in it, interwoven in this really fun story that's been read by the top Pilgrim scholar who we've been working with for decades. And he gave it a thumbs up, and we have a blurb in the front from him, James Baker in Plymouth. So you say how? Okay, what we need is help with how, okay? The road to 2020, we need help getting this story out there, okay? Karen, I want to talk to you about a singing coloring book. Let's go into the schools during the road to 2020. Let's do your thing. Take the road to 2020 as a catalyst for us to combine with your genius, with your singing coloring books. Tell this story.
I'd be more than honored to help.
So let's see what we can do for the road to 2020 and get out there into the schools, whatever wants to be born from us coming together, and do this thing, tell this story, and give people an option. Because people can say, okay, I want to stay in victim perpetrator. I want to stay in that the Mayflower Pilgrims were horrible people that did horrible things, okay? Or, hey, I want to choose the fact that, guess what? They signed a peace treaty that lasted 54 years. They lived together.
Impeccably.
For 54 years. They gave birth to the American mind and spirit and democracy. Okay, which one do you want to choose? I don't know how to handle it. It's a dicey situation in the psyche of this nation. So anyway, we have a film that we've done, Andrew's produced, and we've done, I wrote the narrative, he produced the film. It's a very educational film, important film. It's 25 minutes and really important film. And Rita just had us do a talk in Aspen on December 17th, where we took this whole story from, we called it Trust, Providence, Pilgrims, Native Americans, and the Free Mind. Okay, we actually called it the American Dream, but I've changed it to the Free Mind because we traced the evolution of the free mind from the Magna Carta through Humanity 2.0, okay? Through the evolutionary leap. We took it just, and through the Pilgrims, who they stood up to the King of England, they took a huge leap for humanity. So anyway.
Where is the film able to be purchased, and where?
We don't, it's online.
It's for free, and we'll send you a link.
Yeah,
okay,
we'll
great.
post links with
It's
this.
called?
It's called Seeds of Freedom, A Vision for America.
Okay, wonderful. I'll talk to Rick also, because we're doing for MLK week, we're doing a beautiful thing with the Poor People's Campaign. We're doing a Sunday matinee and watching online with a live stream. And I will ask him if we could maybe do a little matinee of your movie also.
Cool. Thank you. That's
Cool.
wonderful.
And just know that this is, in the psyche of this nation, it is a dicey situation. We're all in shame and blame and guilt and all that. So we got to step up and go into this higher frequency and have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
now, if people have the courage to do that, we welcome it because we've been shouting it for the rooftops for decades. Okay, so
So that's a big part of the how.
that's a big part of the how. Now we can move on to so that kind of combines both our consciousness. And so why don't you go into your climate thing? So Andrew's got a big how.
Well, when my ancestors stepped ashore, I was in a past lifetime, and I sailed across the Atlantic, and this Native American came up to me, put out his hand and said, how? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So we're finally figuring out the how.
Yeah.
And I grew up in South Africa, where if you look at somebody and you say, how? Try that with a Zulu. If you ever meet a Zulu, say the word how. And it means, good heavens. Like how? Like we'd say, wow. Okay.
Wow.
So, how?
Well, that's what I always say, Andrew. I always say, let go of the how, be ready for the wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
And
Yeah.
honestly, when Connie was just talking about that, when somebody asks me how, I say that's not my job. My job isn't the how. My job is the what and the why.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
when we move out of that how, that trust frequency. I love your book, by the way, so much. That trust frequency is so necessary. And I do want to help bring this to the children because I know that this is such an important message. So we'll definitely work on that in 2020 for sure. And then on the caravan too, we can definitely get it into, that's the hope that I have, is that when we're on the caravan, that I can go into schools and I can go into youth groups of the cities that are already set up, on
Let me give you a quick
on the map.
If I may just give you a quick update, we will be in California this time next month.
Yay!
And
What
we
part?
we can get to your part. We're going to get together, like, how about Solvang?
Yes.
we could-
Yay.
Yeah,
LA, would you please announce this? This is really special. We have actually a little announcement
we
here.
have an announcement. Barbara Marks Hubbard has been pulling strings from beyond.
She has. Yes, she has.
And the night before she went into her coma, she said, Connie, we have to work together on the trust frequency. Well, then she went into a coma the next morning and
left.
died 5 days later. But meanwhile, she's pulling strings because Diana Maxwell of the Conscious Life Expo has invited me to do an honoring of Barbara in the opening ceremonies, has put Andrew on a panel with Greg Braden and others, the science of consciousness, and we're doing a 2.5-hour post-conference workshop, the Dance of Souls, which is our online course, which is debuting on the 20th of this month. See, this online course I've transitioned.
That would be 10 days.
In 10 days. It's going live on socialchrysalis.com, which is a Barbara Marks Hubbard inspired learning platform for conscious evolution in action. So there will be the Dance of Souls, and that is relationships reimagined. Hey, Rita, we've come up with a new one. Relationships reimagined. Rita has us doing a workshop in Aspen, a warm-up workshop on the 1st of February. That's going to be a Zoom. So you can all come to our workshop on the 1st of February for $35. You can come for 3 hours.
Are you excited or something?
Yes.
Relationship.
It's going to be so calm.
There's such a transformation happening
Wow,
this
wow,
hour, Connie.
This is Barbara
Yeah.
Marks Hubbard pulling strings.
Yeah,
And
so interesting.
so we're going to be in LA for the Conscious Life Expo. And we'll be cruising around. So are you coming to it? Anybody of you guys coming to the Conscious Life Expo?
Well,
We're going to be in
so
the Holy Land.
Speaking
yeah,
of being in many places at one time, like Barbara Marks Hubbard, yes, and we'll be in the Holy Land of, we'll be at the Dead Sea.
By location,
On that
we'll
day.
do it that way.
On the
Yeah.
1st?
On the 1st.
Ah, okay.
And we'll
Well,
be
you
in
can come on a
Aspen with Rita.
Zoom
Yeah.
to the workshop.
And vice versa. Hopefully you'll be broadcasting from there to us, and we'll share that as much as we can
The
too.
Conscious Life Expo is the 7th to the 10th of February in LA.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
I know that there's a, yes, wow.
Wow. I said ow because I was trying to pull a Band-Aid here. We went from how to wow. I said ow.
Ow!
Ow.
Um,
It ain't easy sometimes.
One other thing that I think in the light of your how that you're holding, the two of you, you also have a Patreon page. Is that right?
That is correct. That is specifically climate oriented. It is the Climate Restoration Project Patreon page. It's proven to be really difficult to get this rolling. We have one person on the screen here is sending us as a supporter, is a patron. Thank you, Rita. We love you. Thank you. And one in Australia and one in Kenya. So how about that? Talk about a global project with 3 patrons. That's actually it. Another friend was giving us our best contribution, but she stopped on the first of the year, and I don't think she could really afford it, but she loves us. So thank you, Melanie. So yeah, there's a Patreon page, and what maybe the most valuable thing about that Patreon page right now is that it's very informative about the how we are going to resolve the climate crisis. So at some point in this talk today, I'll address that. It could be right now if that's appropriate, or at some point.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Patreon
Yeah.
page. Let's just get that out clearly. What is the Patreon page name? It's Patreon, which is a made up word, patreon.com / what is
Climate Restoration Project.
Climate
Restoration Project.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull it into the.
And there are some little videos in there, and that's an opportunity for anybody who would like to. I go on there twice and do an introductory and then a little sort of podcast that gives you a lot of information. And then as you scroll down the page, it pretty much lays it out in the most succinct way I have yet been able to do. There's also a website. If you go to sacredearthenterprises.us, sacredearthenterprises.us, you will find yourself in a rather large website. The blog alone would probably take you 2 weeks to go through the blog. It's mostly science, climate science, solutions, challenges, situations. On the blog end of it, if you go to the gallery, you'll see a lot of our colleagues and co-collaborators on the project. It covers there's 3 elements to this solution. One of which is called the Enviroplex. That is actually a building that extracts CO2 from the atmosphere and turns it into useful, marketable products. That's one part of it. And the Enviroplex itself has a regenerative agriculture component. There are 2 versions of the Enviroplex. There's what I call the vegan version, which would be appropriate in a city, even on top of a flat-roofed industrial building or a Walmart or something like that, or out in suburban areas. Then there's one that actually has livestock, and the livestock one's interesting. I'm not a meat eater, but these animals that are raised, and many people are meat eaters, these animals that are raised actually create an incredible product that starts out as what we call manure. But raw manure is not fertilizer. But we have a patented process for refining that manure and converting it into a crystal clear organic biofertilizer, and taking a problem, livestock waste, and turning it into an outrageous opportunity that actually says, bye-bye Monsanto, bye-bye Dow Chemical, thank you, it's been marvelous. You can go away now, go to sleep, or mutate or do something that you need to change because you're poisoning our planet. And it actually has the potential to change global agriculture in a very, very positive way and turn everything organic.
See, this is the Enviroplex building.
There you go.
So you can see that. And
That's a cutaway there.
that's a cutaway.
And does that one have little piggies running around in the corner?
Mhm. Oh,
Right?
maybe.
Does it? So there's these 2 versions. Anyway, that's one element, which is the Enviroplex. There's the Enviro Farm, which is actually not mine. It's one of our colleagues. His name is Bill Tooley. He's an extraordinary individual. And he received a USDA grant, a CIG grant, which is a conservation innovation grant of $2.4 million. And with that money, he was able for free to do these installations on 11 farms in the American Midwest And those systems are currently operating on these farms. There are a total of 32 farms currently using the technology. And as I said, it transforms current livestock operations, whether they be beef or pork or turkey or chicken or eggs or any of those things. Any animal that produces manure, this manure can put to use. Okay,
So your
that's the
Enviroplex.
that's the Enviro farm, and then the third one is actually called the Enviro Village, and this is where the community part, one aspect of the community part comes in. I could actually show you this little, see this spiral?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can get that. That's actually a brief little map of a village. It's based on the indigenous southwestern spiral, the Enviroplex at the center of it, and radiating out are homes that are 3D printed from concrete sourced from Earth's atmosphere. It is a way of actually permanently sequestering carbon and putting it to use by creating homes.
Yeah, so here's the Enviroplex. So he can explain to you this Enviroplex that he's invented, designed.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, and
Here it is.
here are some of our team members in Santa Fe. So this thing is building
Explain
in
it.
very interesting ways.
Explain the Enviroplex.
Oh, I'm probably not going to do that right now. It's relatively complex, but actually, if you just simply go to the website and look at that, I think it's self-explanatory.
Well, what happens is the air comes in, here, and it gets the particulates get taken out for the animals, or for this space. The animals would be in here for the animal version, and then the air goes in and feeds the farm, the garden farm for the
greenhouse.
the
vertical
greenhouse, and then it comes down here. Let's see. And then before it goes into the living space, which is, see over here, it gets scrubbed of the carbon, and the carbon gets put down below into this holding tank, and the air that goes into the living space and workspace is totally free of carbon. And then it goes up again because humans put carbon into the air. Sorry, it's crooked.
farm.
And then it goes up again and it gets taken out here and goes out into the air as pure air. So it's a carbon capture module that provides living space and greenhouse.
If you
And
flip it around, they'll see the carbon capture module, which
so
is,
these are the carbon capture
these are the
modules.
devices it's built around. So let me talk a little bit then. That's
She was determined to have that explained to the world.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, without explaining it, nobody understands. You can't,
Okay,
you
all right.
can't get it.
So
without
what the
explaining.
building does, so we've come all the way back around. So we had the Enviroplex, the Enviro Farm, and the Enviro Village. So to come back around to the Enviroplex, what is it and what does it do? Well, in one sense, it's a giant air filter. It's an acre footprint, which is 45,000 square feet. It's a large building. One of them is going to make a little local difference to the local community. Anyone who lives or works or sleeps or goes to school in the building will not be breathing the pollutants that everyone outside is breathing. That's a big deal if you live in Mexico City or Delhi or Cairo or one of these horrifically polluted cities. That's a big deal. It extracts and removes the particulate matter and the pollutants so that once you're inside the building, you are breathing pure clean air, firstly. Secondly, it extracts permanently carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Its ultimate purpose is to reduce, and we have to deploy this at a global scale in order to accomplish this. We have 1 trillion tons estimated of carbon dioxide that humans have placed in Earth's atmosphere since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So for the past 200 years, we've done that. For the past 100 years, we've known that that is a very dangerous thing to do. For the last 60 years, we've known that we have to stop burning fossil fuels. We have known that we have to start extracting excess carbon and methane from Earth's atmosphere, or we're in trouble. And we haven't done either of those last two things. So we're actually in the midst of a crisis, an emergency. I don't hear the sirens. Somehow we're managing to keep our heads in the sand. So a solution, and the how we fix that, how we change that, is threefold. One, we have to stop burning fossil fuels. I can't make people stop burning fossil fuels. Secondly, we have to start extracting CO2 from the atmosphere. That is something, as a chemical engineer, I know how to do. So the Enviroplex incorporates a farmer's market greenhouse vertical farm. And the first thing we do with the CO2 is we turn it into green leafy matter known as plant food. And that food can be for livestock, for animals, for humans, and it's organic. And if you're in a polluted environment, you cannot grow organic crops in a place where greasy petroleum products are coming out of the air and landing on your lettuce. So the food coming out of the Enviroplex is pure and clean and organic, firstly. Then it extracts the CO2 permanently by chemically transforming it into an aqueous or water-soluble compound. And that is going to be the basis of a series of spin-off businesses, because we can take that CO2 and we can turn it into, here's a short list. Concrete. We can't turn it into steel, but we can turn it into concrete, but we can actually replace we can disrupt the concrete, the steel, and the aluminum industries, and the fuel industries, interestingly. So start with concrete. Concrete is largely limestone-based, the aggregate in concrete, which is calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is a combination of calcium and carbon dioxide. We can absolutely do that. It is being done as we speak. We can take the carbon and convert it to carbon fiber composite materials. And with those carbon fiber composite materials, we can 3D print anything we can imagine. And 3D printing is a new technology. It's at its early stages, but as it goes mainstream, we're simply going to replace us. We don't need a steel beam when you've got a carbon fiber beam. You don't need aluminum siding when you've got carbon fiber generated siding. And you don't need horrible concrete, because concrete contributes about 8% of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. When you replace it with Portland cement goes away, we replace it with a catalytic process that's now in development, very interesting. So concrete, steel, and aluminum contribute about 20% of the Earth's greenhouse gases. So we're replacing all of those things in a user-friendly way, because these buildings are also, as you may have noticed, half of the building, fully half of the building, we simply call it the multi-purpose pavilion. It's whatever we want it to be. So it could be residential, it could be business, it could be, it could be storage units, to be really mundane. It could be corporate headquarters, it could be college campus, it could be movie theaters, it could be shopping centers, it can be whatever we want it to be is the point. It's simply a building, and it does something no other building does. It does everything a building does for humans, everything. And it does something no buildings currently do, which is it extracts carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and provides these business opportunities. So that's a big part of the how as I'm inventing it. We just had a call from Australia, and there's the potential that we're going to be rebuilding some of the 15 million acres of burnt Australia. And the only thing that's missing right now is the money. Okay, so it's pretty darn exciting. And each of those, let me finish with the word community. So the fourth C is community. Each of these buildings is a community hub, a community center, similar to the 3rd Street Center where Rita is sitting right now. It can provide that function of a community center for all the not-for-profit functions that, say, a town or a village might desire. It's a pretty interesting project. And then once we start 3D printing concrete structures in a spiral, as I'm currently imagining it, that's a Santa Fe project, it's appropriate down there in the American Southwest, we can actually take that concrete, permanently capture and sequester it, and turn it into homes, villages. We just had 2,000 homes destroyed in Australia. Well, how about 2,000 homes from atmospheric concrete? So this is, to me, this is just plain exciting. It's fun. Okay, there we go.
And it's his whole destiny path. I mean, he being a chemical engineer when he was young and a organic chemistry professor, and he's explored communities, and he's been a designer builder for decades. So this is his true destiny path. He has many other aspects of himself, and those aspects joined me and my destiny path because he is with this consciousness and country stuff. He joined me because it's an aspect of him, but this is his true, one of his true big gifts to planet Earth and future generations. So it's very exciting, and he's really bringing forth very interested people from the trust frequency. So it's only going to really happen in that frequency, because it has to happen fast, and it has to happen with a high frequency money giving. It can't be in that old model of business. So, and he's working in that arena of conscious business. And one thing I want to say is that this Enviroplex in those communities, it's actually a source of income, jobs and income for those communities. So communities themselves can become self-sustaining through what this building produces. So that's one of Michael Tellinger's big dreams, is these communities that are self-sustaining, the Ubuntu communities, the one small town. We know Michael, but we haven't come together on this, but that's my vision of it being this source of income for the community and jobs for the community.
Yep.
So
Well, I'd love to just like pause for a moment, because we're kind of reaching the almost an hour.
Okay.
And part of what's really powerful about this design of a members presents is having a conversation.
Right.
Okay.
So, I would love to transition into, I know we heard a little bit of question from Karen, and it doesn't look like Nina's in her space right now, but hopefully Nina will come back. It would be really great, of course, to hear from Rita, Nina, Karen, if there's any further questions. But my kind of desire at this point is as you're saying, the challenge that I hear, you have so many solutions, and the challenge that's here is financial. So I just want you to know that as you were talking about your Patreon page, it actually, in light of refining and sprucing, speaking truth with love and compassion, I could not find the Patreon link on your Facebook page to actually become a patron. So I hope that you can adjust that so it makes it easy for people that are interested in supporting and learning more and getting educated from you, that Patreon link can be right there and easy to just sign up on your Facebook page. But I did add that in the copy, the comments of this Members Presents. And Karen Palmer has also been sharing links, and Rita has been sharing links here in the Zoom room. So, it takes a village. We're all here supporting you and synergizing here.
we haven't seen any of those. Can you save those and send them to us?
Well, okay, let me just clarify what's happening. So separate from what's being added to this chat is on the Facebook page where we went live, on your page.
Where we are live.
Yeah, and we still are live. Right? There are links have been added there just to augment the narrative, to go along with the words. Is to
Great.
Ways to get engaged with what you're doing. That's really what we want to do here. We want to make it understandable and usable for people to say, okay, wow, these folks are up to important changes in the world. We want to contribute to what they're doing, whether it be financially or whether it be through relationships, other ways that people can bring unique resources to mobilize and deploy in support of the visions that you guys are putting forward.
So to give that sense of, and we haven't heard from Nina yet. And I think Nina, I just want to call, she just came back. But I think it would be great to make sure that we're giving space for response.
That's right. That's the vision of these Members Presents, is you guys share like you have so beautifully, and then others can engage in, we call generative and strategic conversations.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So whoever ideally would like to go next, Karen, do you have a question? Is there?
I just wanted to share that I sent Connie on Facebook a link to what we're doing, and We the World. We have a project called We Power America, and I think that you would be a perfect candidate to collaborate and co-create with us on that. So I sent you the link to that. And also, like I said, I would love to talk. I'll talk to Rick. I can't just say it right out loud, but I would love to have you on our Welcome to We show. We do a monthly show that is, synergized with the sine waves, and it's to help answer the question, what can we do together that we can't do on our own? So I would love to have you guys be featured guests on that also. So I'll talk to Rick and I'll set something up, and Connie, I'll send you some information. And thank you again. Andrew, you are brilliant, and your ideas are so necessary and needed in our world so desperately. And so I'm just really honored to be able to utilize the gifts that I have, which is amplification and coordination. So let's see what we can do with this. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for sharing so beautifully and so authentically. And Rita, I'd love to talk to you more too. So, and Nina, I love all the work that you're doing also. So it's really important that we just keep amplifying each other's goodness in the world.
Yeah, you're amazing, girl. You're a powerhouse.
Yeah.
You're a phenomenon.
And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that the Patreon link is right there on our description of our website, our web page.
On your Facebook
Summer
page?
is right there.
Okay.
Right under climate and community. It's patreon.com.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
On the Facebook page.
On your Facebook page.
right. Yeah, it's right there.
I did
That's the
center.
whole link with this just
There.
Facebook.
Center.
So
Huh?
let's hear from Nina and or Rita.
Well, I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to share that I found it really inspiring what you shared and touching also actually. That, I think what touches me the most is not only your vision, but the trust that you have in it. Yeah, thank you for that. And I think that's really important to hold. Like, there's many ways in which we can be discouraged, as Andrew said, like, where's the wisdom of our fellow human beings? We sometimes wonder about it, I guess. So, and yes, I also love that Andrew is like really specific in solutions. And then I think Connie is more the overarching vision holder. So that's a nice combination that you have there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Nina, and that trust is another frequency. Okay, it's a vibratory level. So we need to understand that it's actually physics. It's actually our vibratory level that creates our reality. And then where we put our attention, we have the 7 A's of consciousness that help us to understand what our requests to this conscious loving universe are, that's how we frame it. And it's also what creates our vibratory level, and therefore what frequency, what our reality is. So I can give those 7 A's of consciousness, those 7 words that begin with A, that are our request to the conscious loving universe, if anybody wants them. But let's hear from Rita first.
Well, one thing I just want to add, because this is I have to admit, Karen is an amplifier. I want to see bridging here. So Nina, if you could share a bit more about your work that you do and where you are in the world, and how the context, or where do you see, I mean, obviously Karen is seeing where there's support and there's some opportunities here. Nina, I wonder for you in your work, and maybe you want to share a little bit about what you do and see where there's a opportunity here with Connie and Andrew.
Yeah, I need to think maybe a bit more about opportunities. So what I'm doing is training, especially young people, but also others, in what I call non-violence or peace building. So it's a combination of knowledge and skills. And the knowledge, it's kind of like a framework, let's say, where we have the starting point of creating non-violence in yourself, creating non-violence with others, so conflict resolution skills, and then going to a vision of this non-violent world, of a peaceful world. So, and as you kind of pointed out, we need a lot of cultural changes for that. So that's where I see we come from a similar point of view, let's say, or worldview.
And we feel that the trust frequency, the book and the concept on the nature of the universe is very contributory to that process, to live, to people to trust and to know it's a conscious, loving universe, that we affect that reality, all that stuff as foundational core assumptions, and lifting into a higher frequency, this peace on earth will be a given.
Yes, and I think we can always inspire each other. This is the reason I wanted to join the call. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about what has inspired you in this vision.
Well, for me, it's what I came here to do, apparently, because I've had this information. I have this view, this big picture ability to see this big picture and know it so completely. And we've been shown the way, Jesus with his miracles and loaves and fishes in abundance, it's just a whole other ball game in another frequency. And so what inspires me is that knowing and just sharing it and living it and being it and bringing it forth for anybody who wants it and can use it to transform others.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's hear from Rita. We've been talking about hearing from Rita.
Yes, Rita.
Come on, Rita.
Unmute yourself, Rita.
Oh, there, I tried.
I was
There she
go.
is.
There you are.
I was busy typing, so I'm already in. I've known Connie for years and delighted to know Andrew now, and I've been holding space for their work to come forward in the world and using my capacity to make connections wherever I can, because this is hugely important work in all aspects of what they're doing. So I'm in. And our center, Davina Kent Center for Human Flourishing, has hosted them many times for them to be able to bring the information to the local community. And now with the Dance of Souls program they're going to do, the 1st of February is going Zoom. So it's going to be global. Wow. And we're just totally thrilled to be able to support these two visionaries and hold space for their work to come out in the world.
And she's doing so much with Andrew's climate project as well, getting the word out in the Roaring Fork Valley, where Andrew would love to have this Enviroplex Research Center. Rita's really playing an important role there in the Aspen Roaring Fork Valley, where I birthed and raised my children. So I have a 30-year relationship there, and where I brought Native Americans over the decades and developed these ideas. And now it's, and Andrew's bringing that whole other aspect to it. And by the way, I want to say we are not in Sedona. We are we're at Sunrise Ranch, and the scene behind us is our living room, our old living room in Sedona.
That's all our art on the walls, so we get to share it with you guys. Photography, that's all that stuff.
So it's no longer. We are now home free.
We're now in Colorado at Sunrise Ranch, and we're actually sitting in the media. It's called Studio B, BE. And Jon has been in here. Have you not, Jon?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And interviewed here, sitting right here, being interviewed.
And Barbara Marx Hubbard is sat right where Connie and I are sitting right now.
Many times.
Filmed her here many times, right in this very spot. So it's
amazing. We are connected in ways that are revelatory, inspiring. It's a new world we find ourselves in. This is
Yes.
ours to explore and reimagine. It's that awakening and remembering, like you were speaking, Andrew, before, about waking up, growing up, cleaning up, showing up, linking up, stepping up. It's all here unfolding. And
The only way out is up.
that's right. The only way out is up.
Mhm.
Very good. This is what we wanted to do. This is what we wanted to make known is your work in the world. Get behind you and discover the opportunities for how do we turn what we have into what we need. This is for me clear that the mobilization of our resources, finding our unique resources, understanding our interests, it takes sometimes just making space for each other and to learn about each other. And it's been great to appreciate the two of you and what you've done individually and what you're doing collectively and who you represent and who you are in the world. And I hope that anyone who's watching, who isn't in the Zoom with us, but is getting the message, is going to find their way to you and to give you the love and support that you deserve and that you seek. This is the time for us to come together like we never have before. And everything we're doing is all about this. So
I also just want to speak to, for those that are just meeting Connie and Andrew, one thing that I think you may know it, you may not, but they often, since they've been SINE members, have been in many other members, other SINE members presents, that they're very supportive of others and are very open to, on their Facebook page, as we say, the ultimate way to, compassion game here is making waves. And I often find Connie right there saying, I want to make sure to support that and support that, that there is a lot that they also are doing amongst the work that they're doing in supporting and caring for the collective that is important to acknowledge, that I really see them as real supporters for that sense of synergy of where we're going and in the how of all of our work blossoming together. So I just want to acknowledge that as well here. And for those of you that are watching this as well live or watching the recording, you know that this is an ongoing, I'd like to say, prayer and intention made manifest of Andrew and Connie's work. May it be so that they have the support, exactly the vision that they need so this work can happen. And what an incredible, I think of the organization New Stories and Bob Stilger that talks about after now in his book around what do we do after these disasters? What is the possible? What's possible to recreate community? And here is Andrew and Connie with these actual, you know, buildings that can be built. Like, what is the vision? What are we building next in these communities that they have great ideas that are actually going to help the earth, and in that light of peace on earth by 2030, as we all are feeding and nourishing. So let's keep
we
the
need the
conversation
will
going.
and the way, the will and the way. It's great that there is the way. We need the will to do it. And that's what seems to be the missing piece right now, is that we bring that collective will to make the changes we need to. So,
Well, you guys are a phenomenon. What you're doing with the technology and with your heart and spirit and bringing this collaboratory synergistic situation together. I mean, your dedication and your brilliance is so key to getting it out virally out to the masses, which you've set up this way of doing it. And we just honor you incredibly for that. I mean, just who you are individually and what you know and what you see, but also your contribution to the collective and to this dissemination of information, which is vital. It's all there is. Not all there is, but it's so key to give voice to the visionaries. So I just thank you.
Karen. I hope you feel the acknowledgement in that, because it really is a collective effort. So
it is a
people,
collective, the making
and Nina,
waves.
it's so meaningful to have you here. I love to always reference Greece and the peace game and the things you're doing and the beauty that you represent for us being a community from people
And
all
we're a family, that's for sure. We're a family here. And I think what we're doing with SINE is helping to really show how we can love our dreams into this reality. And we're just trusting that with that trust frequency. I knew when I met Connie that I knew that Barbara Max Hubbard was bringing us together. There was no question about it. And I knew that there was something bigger going on than what my human self could see. And it was very exciting to read your book, because the trust frequency, I would highly recommend to you, Nina, and the work that you're doing with the youth. I think it would just be amazing we could work together on it too, to bring this to the youth here in California, and you could bring it to the youth where you are. And that's what it's all about, is really seeing what can we do in our corner of the world, and then ripple it. What can we have to start with the pilot program with a small little idea, showing that idea, and really making that idea the most feasible and economical, so that people can actually hear what we're saying. Because our trust frequency, I know what you mean, the frequency, we have to sometimes bring ourselves down to the lower frequencies just to be able to have people hear us. And I know people say to me all the times, Karen, you just see rainbows and unicorns everywhere. And I do, because I'm in the trust frequency.
It's huge. My daughter has been working with us for this online course.
Awesome.
Accessible to others.
Yeah.
Mom.
Definitely put it up on globalunitycalendar.org too. I'll send you the link to that, Connie, and maybe you could send me the information, and then I can help you get it up so you don't have to deal with the technology. You can just send me the information, and then I can get it so that we can make sure that it looks really good on the calendar for you.
Sweet.
And then we'll get it, hopefully it'll get into the newsletter for We the World also.
Great.
Okay, well, may this supportive conversation continue. May the support and the trust in all of our work really embody that in ourselves as we step forward with the work that we know we're meant to do. It's
beautiful. Love one another.
Love one another.
Hey!
One another.
That's so good. That is so it.
The love one another challenge, right?
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.